least. We continue with some Disney news of the week. We're going to start by talking about what's going on in Shanghai Disneyland right now, because reportedly there's some movement going on in Shanghai Disneyland, mainly that Shanghai Disneyland is reportedly testing out parades and nighttime shows for a potential reopening. Now, we want to make sure that everybody understands there's rampant speculation right now as to when Disney parks are going to reopen, right? We've done it ourselves. I mean, everybody I think that's a Disney park fan is into trying to figure out when these things are going to be reopening and based on what and how and what things are going to look like on the other side. We've even talked about it from time to time. Shanghai Disneyland, obviously being in China, China is a few months ahead of us in terms of when everything seemed to peak. So the reason why that's important is because not too long ago, Bob Iger, executive chairman of the Walt Disney Company, mentioned in a Barron's interview that he is going to be looking to China and the China parks really for cues as to how to reopen the parks here domestically. So he said that himself. So upon hearing that there's movement in terms of testing parades and nighttime shows and even having some cast members that are there currently, and they're trying to figure out how to best space people out and space out the experience. Knowing this, I think that it's important to touch on the fact that they closed Shanghai Disneyland back in January. Okay, they have reopened it in limited operation not too far after that. Okay, so beginning in March. All right, so I think it was the first or second week of March, they decided to start reopening it in a limited capacity for their downtown Disney type district. And then on top of that, their hotel areas. So giving that social distancing and putting those things into effect, Shanghai Disneyland has sort of reopened in a way. All right, so if we're to take cues from that and really sort of consider whether or not Shanghai Disneyland is going to be the testing ground for what they do here, I think the question really becomes that's like ground zero for everything that the world has been going through, right? So that's been ground zero, and to know that it's been 2 to 3 months basically since they hit their peak and they've been through all of this kind of makes you wonder if that's what we might see on this side now. Granted, we do have radically better healthcare in this country, a lot of other options in terms of being cared for here. So that might even be sped along. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional. I'm just somebody that kind of sees what's going on in one side of the world and knowing that the executive chairman is looking at that for some cues. So let's start there. Katrina, when it comes down to it, if Disney is willing to start reopening, ground zero being China, and doing so 2 months after closure, do you feel like they might be willing to do the same thing here in the United States, being 2 months into sort of this lockdown that we've all been in? You think that we might see something in terms of phased opening starting here anytime soon?
My hopefulness says yes, but my doubtfulness always just says like we're not ready yet. Just because I think that China's putting a lot more forward. They're doing like QR codes to track people, and like if you're in a certain area, they'll mark you like yellow, or was it orange, yellow and red, and then there's green if you're good. And unfortunately, I don't think the United States is going to do anything like that to keep track of people that have coronavirus or did or are nearby coronavirus, to keep track of it. And I think that's what's helping Shanghai open faster, is because they have this tracking system down. So I think it's going to be a while until we're able to actually see it kind of phase open, because I don't think Disneyland wants to open up Disneyland Hotel but not have Disneyland open. Just like Shanghai, they have like downtown open, the hotel, the Disneyland Hotel, and there's something else that was open, and that was like their phase opening.
Their shopping area.
Yeah, their shopping area, and that they opened it on March 9th. So even then, if they open downtown Disney, that would be great at Disneyland, and opening like Disney Springs or something for phase opening. But I just can't see it just one hotel or something opening at Disneyland, because they're not going to make enough profit, because people want to go to Disneyland if they go to the Disneyland Hotel.
And we've referenced here before that Bob Iger, executive chairman of the company, is sitting on the economic reopening task force for the state of California now. And it looks like not only is the executive vice president of Walt Disney World, but now also the president of Walt Disney World. They are sitting on the Florida economic task force reopening team, if you will. Tyler, knowing that, there's sort of heads of state when it comes to Disney on these task forces, does that bring any sort of sense of comfort knowing that Disney's foremost executives in both states are on these task forces?
A little bit. I mean, they have a lot of invested interest in making sure that this goes away. Obviously, they're losing money hand over fist every day, and for them to be on the board, I honestly, it's funny. I actually have more faith in the way Disney is going to be doing things than I have in our own federal government. It really is kind of a sad state of affairs to me. I just feel like we are kind of far from reopening. I don't think it's going to happen very soon, unfortunately. And again, a lot like Katrina was saying, it has to do with the way that the federal government is running things. Personally, that's my belief. And not just the federal government, but also the way that so many people are out there protesting and things like that. I don't want to make it too political, but a lot of people are doing really dumb things right now, and that's going to very much impact everybody. And I just didn't see that happening over in China and in Shanghai. And so, I think Bob Iger is a very smart man. Along with the rest of the Disney company, they're very smart people. They have a lot of invested interest, and to have them try and reopen safely, it does bring me a little bit of comfort. But we've got a long way to go, I think.
And Garrett, we've talked many times about entertainment being sort of the company's go-to department when it comes to cutting things in a pinch. But perhaps that might come in the form this time of maybe character interactions. So those up-close character meet and greet interactions rather than parades and stage shows. As a former entertainment cast member, what's your take on that? Because if Shanghai Disneyland is already rehearsing the parades and the stage shows, that to me might be a cue that potentially we will see those things exist, but maybe not characters you can walk right up to, because if we can keep characters at a distance, it's probably safer for everybody. Do you agree?
I do. I really think that what could happen is similar to what Shanghai is doing, is that you'll have the castle show, you'll have the parade, you'll have shows like Festival of the Lion King and Fantasmic where the characters are visible, but there is no direct contact because with how this virus reacts, like it's done off of touch, and you don't want, to be hugging Mickey Mouse and then he hugs 500 families and then it's just another outbreak. So I really think that it could work if they do the sort of, I'm going to call it distanced entertainment, where you have the trolley show, you have, well, if the train actually ran and they had like the train show, that would be amazing. But I think that having entertainment where guests are far apart, where they can't directly touch them, I think that will work and would actually be quite successful, because you don't want to go to Disney and not see Mickey Mouse. So I think it can work. You want to see the characters. It stinks that you won't be able to essentially give them hugs, because we know that for many people, giving the characters hugs makes it so much more amazing. But I think it will work if it does indeed happen. Hopefully it will. Fingers crossed.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.